Okay, let's dive into this. April 28th, 2025. Just try and picture it. A Monday, pretty normal, until suddenly Spain and Portugal just go dark.
Yeah, millions plunged into darkness, no power.
Exactly. We're talking major cities,
Yeah.
Madrid, Barcelona, Lisbon traffic, just stopping dead.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Madrid Open tennis tournament got suspended mid-match. It was a huge, huge disruption across the whole Iberian Peninsula.
The scale is what hits you first, right? And how fast it happened. It wasn't just like one city, it was almost the entire landmass.
Totally. And we got two really interesting sources to help us unpack it. First, there's a news report from The Independent. Pretty straightforward, gives us the facts on the ground.
The who, what, when, where.
Right. But then we have this blog post by a guy named Max Westerly. And this is where things get, well, a bit different.
Okay.
So Westerly, he's apparently spent like 20 years looking into lucid dreaming, manifestation, the nature of reality, that kind of thing. So his perspective is, let's say, unconventional.
Ah, so not your typical grid analysis.
Definitely not. So our mission for this deep dive is to get the official story straight, what the news reported, but then really explore this alternative way of looking at it that Westerly brings up, trying to get beyond just the headlines.
Yeah, moving past the purely technical explanation to see if maybe there are other ways to think about such a huge event.
So let's kick off with a timeline from The Independent. Monday, April 28th. Around 12:30 p.m. local time, everything just stops.
Midday. Wow.
And it sounds like it was almost instant chaos. Traffic lights out, obviously, but also reports of water supplies failing in some places, Wi-Fi gone, mobile networks getting shaky.
All the things we rely on.
And not just one city. It stretched across most of Spain, most of Portugal. It's serious enough that Spain actually declared a state of emergency.
That's significant. And the early estimates for getting power back, they weren't optimistic, were they?
No. Portugal's grid operator, RN, apparently said it could take up to a week to fully restore power, which just shows you how big this failure was.
A week without power? That's almost unthinkable. And what was the suspected cause initially?
Well, RN's first assessment pointed to this very large oscillation in the electrical voltages. It sounds like it started in Spain's system and then kind of spilled over into Portugal.
An oscillation, like a huge wobble in the power flow.
Something like that, yeah. They even threw out extreme temperature variations as a possible trigger.
Interesting.
And you saw the knock-on effects immediately. Flights grounded, hospitals desperately switching to backup generators.
Gas stations wouldn't work either, I bet. Need electricity for the pumps.
Exactly. And the mobile network problems just made everything worse. People couldn't get info, couldn't call for help easily.
It really highlights how fragile our modern infrastructure can be, doesn't it? Everything's so interconnected, one thing goes down.
Absolutely. The politicians weighed in too. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez talked about a strong oscillation in the European grid, which is interesting.
Ah, so potentially wider than just Iberia.
Maybe? Or just stressing the interconnectedness. And he said early on that they weren't ruling anything out. Meanwhile, his Portuguese counterpart, Luis Montenegro, seemed pretty quick to downplay the idea of a cyber attack.
Which is always one of the first thoughts these days with infrastructure failures.
For sure. By Monday night, things were slowly coming back online. Spain reported nearly half the power restored. Portugal, maybe a bit more, like 85% of substations back. But still, a massive event.
Okay, so the official picture is a major technical fault in the grid, possibly linked to weather, causing a massive cascading blackout.
That's the gist of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch track now. Let's look at Max Westerly's blog post and his alternative view. He brings up this concept called the Mandela effect.
Ah, the Mandela effect.
For anyone listening who hasn't come across that term, can you sort of break down what it is?
Sure. So the Mandela effect, and Westerly references Fiona Broome, who coined the term, it describes this weird phenomenon where huge numbers of people share the exact same specific memory of something, but that memory turns out to be false.
False how?
Demonstrably incorrect when you check the actual historical record. The classic example where the name comes from is Nelson Mandela. Loads of people distinctly remember him dying in prison back in the 80s.
Right. I've heard that one. But he didn't. He was released, became president, and passed away much later in 2013.
Exactly. But the memory is so vivid for so many people.
It is bizarre. And Westerly's post lists some other really common examples, doesn't it? Like the Berenstain Bears books.
Oh, yeah, the spelling. Everyone seems to remember it as Berenstein with an E.
But it's always been Berenstein with an A.
Weird. And the Monopoly Man, Mr. Monopoly.
The monocle. So many people picture him with a monocle.
But he doesn't have one. Never has.
Then there's that whole thing about a movie called Shazam, starring the comedian Sinbad as a genie.
Yes. People swear they saw it in the 90s. Rented it on VHS even.
There's no record of it. No such movie exists. It's wild.
It really is. And you've got famous movie lines people misquote collectively, too, like in Star Wars.
Luke, I am your father.
Everyone knows it, except the line is actually, "No, I am your father."
Mind blown. And Snow White. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Nope. It's magic mirror on the wall.
Okay, so these aren't just random memory slips. It's large groups sharing the same incorrect memory.
Precisely. That's the core of the Mandela effect. It's the shared collective nature that makes it so intriguing. And this is where Westerly starts to connect it, maybe surprisingly, to the power outage. He uses the phrase glitch in the matrix.
Ah, okay, like from the movie.
Mhm.
Those little moments of deja vu or weirdness that suggest reality isn't quite real.
Well, exactly that. The term comes from the matrix, yeah. Signifying anomalies in a simulated reality. Westerly lists common things people report as possible glitches in our reality.
Like what?
Well, deja vu is a big one, that powerful feeling you've lived through a moment before. Odd time slips, where time feels like it jumped or repeated, really strange coincidences that seem statistically impossible.
Okay.
And also, these memory discrepancies we were just talking about, the Mandela effect examples, fit right in there.
So how does a massive power outage fit into that glitch idea?
Westerly's argument, as I understand it, is that something this sudden, this widespread knocking out two whole countries with an official explanation that, might feel a bit incomplete to some people.
Like the voltage oscillation explanation.
Right. He suggests that maybe this event could be seen as a kind of large-scale glitch, a disruption not just in the power grid, but maybe in the fabric of reality itself.
Wow. Okay, so he's looking at the sheer scale of it,
Yeah.
affecting millions instantly across borders.
Yeah, the scale, the suddenness, and maybe this lingering sense that even with the technical explanation, something feels off or disproportionate about the whole thing, like reality itself kind of hiccuped.
So wait, he's not saying the power grid misremembered something, like with the Mandela effect examples.
Mm.
How does the memory thing connect to a physical event like a blackout?
That's the big leap, isn't it? He seems to suggest that these phenomena, shared false memories and huge unexpected physical disruptions, might actually stem from the same underlying instability, perhaps, in how we perceive reality.
Instability.
Yeah, like maybe our shared consciousness or reality itself isn't as solid or fixed as we assume. He doesn't really spell out a mechanism like A causes B. It's more like these are both potential symptoms of something deeper and weirder going on.
Suggesting that maybe our collective thoughts or the nature of reality could influence physical events, or that the structure of reality is just more fluid?
Something along those lines. He points towards these things as reasons to maybe question our assumptions. He even mentions quantum mechanics.
The go-to for weirdness.
Pretty much. He brings it up, noting how counterintuitive and strange it is at the fundamental level. The implication seems to be, if the basis of our universe is already so weird, maybe we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss ideas like the Mandela effect or view a massive blackout solely through a conventional lens.
Keep an open mind, basically.
Right. Stay curious. And it's important to remember where Westerly is coming from. His blog describes him as someone who, practices lucid dreaming, claims to glimpse the future, transcend realities, even cast spells.
Okay, so definitely operating outside the usual scientific box.
Very much so. His perspective is rooted in, let's say, experiential exploration of consciousness and reality, not lab coats and peer review.
Got it. So we're left with two very different takes on the same event.
Absolutely. On one side, you've got the official story, a technical failure, a big voltage swing, maybe triggered by weather, cascading through the interconnected grid. Makes sense on a practical level.
And on the other side, you have Westerly's interpretation.
Yeah.
This blackout as potentially a massive glitch in the matrix, something anomalous, perhaps hinting at a connection to other strange phenomena like the Mandela effect, suggesting reality might be less stable than we think.
It really poses a fascinating question for you listening to this. Could these huge, seemingly isolated events, like this blackout across Spain and Portugal, actually point towards something deeper?
Suggesting that maybe the reality we experience day to day is more, dynamic or interconnected in ways we don't usually consider, or maybe just less understood.
Exactly. Thinking about the implications of both views is interesting. The technical one highlights real-world vulnerabilities in our critical infrastructure.
Which is important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But the unconventional one, it pushes you to question the very nature of reality, consciousness, memory.
Yeah, we're not here to say one is definitively right and the other wrong. That's not the point of this deep dive.
No, but it's valuable, isn't it? To hold both possibilities in mind when something so significant happens, to consider different frameworks for making sense of it all.
Absolutely. It encourages you to maybe keep exploring these ideas. Think about the Mandela effect. Think about those weird coincidences or moments of déjà vu you might have experienced yourself.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Are there more layers to reality than what we typically perceive on the surface? Food for thought.